All right, everyone. Hello, me, Steve Trimble, Twin Line. Today, I felt like making just a generic tier list of all the armies in a singles formation to just get a nice little perspective of what we're thinking. Today, I brought my friend, Mr. Nicholas, on. He's a little, what do you call yourself, Nick? Team USA adjacent type of person?
Kinda, yeah. Team USA, previously Academy. Kind of just hanging out, playing lots of competitive 40k. Nothing super serious right now, though, with teams.
Yeah, Nick's a good friend of mine. Know each other forever. And I think this would be fun to do together. So we're just going to make a tier list of all the armies and what our opinions are of those armies in singles. All right, so what do we got first? The T-Sans is first up. It's a weird one to start with.
This is an interesting one to start with.
I'll let you start. What's your opinion on the T-Sans?
It's either B or A minus. And the builds that are coming out that are good are like... I mean, Coven is always like feeling good. Termi build looks still reasonable, though the meta, I guess, is not super healthy for that. Yeah, I will say it has a ton of build diversity. Probably the best build that I've seen at the moment, at least for teams, is like the certain whole tank-based builds. I actually think that that's the most interesting place the T-Zones have right now.
Do tell me, because I have a very low opinion of that detachment. So do tell me why you think it's quite good.
I mean, it just has efficient profiles into a lot of the things that are going on. You're right on a lot of ends. It doesn't have a lot of unique things going on, right? It just has access to quality rerolls. It has access to mortals. It has access to decent damage profiles. And it does the thing, the stat check thing, right? Here are a bunch of T10 3-up save bodies, right? I think B is probably a safe bet, right?
Yeah, I think it's... I think what's interesting in T-Sans is they do have... unironically, probably one of the most viable detachments in the game, because they have Coven, they have Demons to an extent, even they have Cars, they have Terminators, and they have the Grotmas Demon Prince spam. These are all like viable, like good detachments. None of them are like insane. So I think it's a upper echelon B, maybe close to A minus. Oh, and I need to explain. So tiers, I put an A minus and a B minus because I always felt like there's some armies that aren't exactly the tier above it, but they do eclipse the armies in the tier that they would put in. So I did want to put two extra categories to say, like, this army is not a B tier army. It is substantially better than B tier armies, but it's just not exactly there. Not exactly an A tier. So I think we'll switch between A minus and B.
100%. I think this is one we need some perspective on some of the other things going on, right?
All right, Mr. Admech. This one is interesting. I'll start here. I'm coming from mostly a Drukhari perspective recently, especially since Admech and Drukhari got buffed at the same time as Drukhari coming out, and Drukhari has always absolutely spectacle spite, just absolutely shits on Admech. So I have a very low opinion on this army, and I just played against Hollow's Creed, or what the heck it's called, and that just detachment felt like it didn't do anything. But I know fundamentally they have very good rules, especially like Skitarii Hunter Corps, Army-wide Stealth, Army-wide Cover, Advantage Charge, a million strats. They have the most efficient anti-tank in the game. Now they have an amazing Primarch, and the models are still do not cost a lot. Like Rustalker's Infiltrate for a 2-wound guy with a bunch of melee attacks and quite a speed with things like Infiltrate and Advantage Charge are still quite amazing. So I'm leaning towards in between here, because especially if you're like scared of something like, well, we'll get to an A tier army later, but like maybe like something like Catan's or Siege Demons, like big boys, aiming 9 last chickens with full reels to hit and wound will kill them very, very quickly.
It will. Indeed. It is they have very efficient profiles and things like that. And I think that part of the reason we're even gonna, like, at least personally, I would consider putting them in A or A minus is just because of how good they are into a lot of the things that are coming up in the fields, right? A lot of like good armies right now. I think either or is probably a safe bet.
Yeah, it's definitely felt because it was an S tier army. Very obviously, I guess plus tier. It didn't get nerfed that much. It did got nerfed a decent amount, but not that much in the grand scheme of the game. And it does feel like it's pivoting well, because I have one hypothetical, like say Catan are as OP as people think they are, and Space Marines, pivot to things like Eradicators and Triple Vindicators. It's really good into those profiles. Last chickens.
Indeed they are.
So I think it's gonna be in between here. All right, Eldari. This one's a hot take. This army is not bad. This army is really good still. Oh my god, I played against Liam a bunch of times with this army still. Oh my god.
Yeah. I think I agree. I think B is a smart place for this. I mean, there are just like quote unquote fringe builds that we knew were functional and good that existed during the time of Aspect Host and Warhost that have been borderline untouched, right? Like bikes have stuff going on, as we've talked about. Yanari has some interesting things.
Yeah, I quite like Yanari for Team
Guardian
Army.
Battle Host has things going on.
That army didn't get nerfed at all.
Here. Yeah, no, completely unaffected.
Yeah, so I think it's almost close to A- because they fundamentally, because they also play very well into Catans. If you play Catans, you just take 15 fire dragons and you kill all the Catans in 3 seconds. Like there's nothing they can do about it against D6 plus 2 damage. They will just die in 0.5 seconds, which is really, really good.
Say something that I've always seen as problematic for elves is like 3 wound infantry.
Yes.
Seems problematic, and I mean, as we're going to go through this tier list, that's going to pop up probably a few times, right? I think B tier is really safe because I think there are some higher tier armies, even A- tier armies that they just can't quite compete with.
Yes.
But I mean, still a very functional and playable army, right?
Yes, I quite love them. Hey, it's the funny army. We're skipping over that.
Yeah.
This army is not an army.
You don't want to talk about that one.
What was I talking about? GW doesn't value this as an army. There's not much to say. Even them as allies aren't very good, so their shit's very overpriced.
Certainly not.
We're past the days of 35-point exaction squads from the index. All right. Black Templars. This army sucks. This army's
I agree.
awful. I didn't think this army was good before they got blasted off the face of the earth, but it's like veterans, not funny. Sword Bros are very cool until you fight a profile where 3 attacks are not good. Sword Bros are really cool until you fight a profile where you don't want to ally 200 points of characters to 4 models.
100%.
And then none of your stuff has like, it like only punches up, kind of. You're really bad at punching down and sideways because you're just running three attack power swords, repulsor executioners with big lasers. Those are really your only data sheets. This army doesn't really do anything, and you're forced to play one detachment, and there's many other armies that play that detachment in Gladys much better, as we'll get to later. I think they're unironically one of the worst users of that detachment. I would rather play Blood Angels than Gladys, for instance.
I was gonna say, I feel like the power of this army has always been in teams, right? Like its matchup spread is just not good enough to be like a really super functional singles army. But I mean, we live in an era of lots of good Marine factions, and it just doesn't compete, right? I think C is completely right. Maybe even D, right?
It's very close to there. Blood Angels. This army is very good. You have, Rage Curse Onslaught. It's won many events already or placed very well. I've played event. If anyone watching, you've seen me play it on the YouTube channel many times. It's quite good. Angelic Inheritors is niche and good when people play it, but people don't play it a lot. Lag is always there. And that's about it. It doesn't have a lot of attachments. It has very good data sheets. It probably has the best data sheets of the just Space Marine models in general. Obviously, if you think like Veteran's Guard, but like if I was thinking of a Codex supplement, I would think Blood just has the best data sheets. Because you have things like Sanguinary Guard, you have things like Dante, and people value Dante so much that they still bring him with Sanguinary Guard, even though he lost his leader ability. That's how good people think Dante is. And now Death Company are amazing, and such like that. Is the only like jump pack based infantry army in the game. Literally the only one. Obviously, you have armies like Spectral Spite, which are faster, but this is like a very niche thing. This is essentially the fastest Marine type body army, elite infantry army in the game, which is very cool. And also, it doesn't have the biggest issues with melee where it can't punch up because your best units have things like lance and lethal hits and everything baseline, and your army essentially reroll hits or hits on 2's baseline, so you don't have the consistency problem that a lot of melee armies have.
There's buffs everywhere.
Yeah,
everything.
And Sanguinary Guard are probably one of, if the most durable unit in melee, so that helps them a lot. That's, you always want that when you're playing a big melee unit. You want your melee unit not to charge it and get murdered. It helps in things like fight and death and interrupts. So this army is very good. I think Rage Curse is not slightly overhyped, but I'm putting in A tier for a reason. I think it's the best non-Codex Marine army.
I would agree.
All right. So anything to say, or are we good to switch?
No, yeah, I think you know a lot more about that army than I do.
Sweet. All right. Chaos Knights. This army makes me sleep. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
it shoots you.
B-tier army.
It shoots you with Gatling cannons. I think it's a very low B tier army because it's an army that
I agree.
Stat checks people, but it innately gets stat checked. It sees something that's T12 or -1 damage, something like Mortarian stuff, and it shits its pants. It can't kill them, can't do anything about it. This army also auto loses to Spectral Spite, which is not good. As someone who plays this army, I can tell you this is like one of the easiest matchups in the world.
I would have looked at this matchup spread and I would have been like, wow, this is getting better. But then we see shards coming out.
Yeah.
Like,
oh no. Yeah. That's another biggest one. That's even worse. Yeah. So in addition to they can't kill it, the shards kill them in 0.2 seconds. So it's like a double bad parts. So it's like just a stat check and it doesn't do a lot. It's the least flexible army in the game. It just walks its 10 inches or 13 inches and shoots you. Doesn't do anything cute like fallback, shoot, and charge. It doesn't have any overwatch. Doesn't do a lot. But you know, some armies auto lose to Chaos Knights because they're like, I'm gonna shoot you with, like my, for instance, I went to Challengers Cup last year. I bought Liberator Assault Group Lag, and I'm like, I can't play against Chaos Knights, so we have to dodge that.
Another big problem with this,
all venues, yes,
is in teams. In functionally, like you have matchups that you cannot play, but a lot of the matchups that you want to be in, you're not getting blues out of those matchups.
No,
if you know what I mean.
This army,
it's hard to push with Chaos Knights.
Yeah, it's a non-flexible army. You're running 3 dudes, 2 to 3 smalls, and some dumb demons. You're very hard pressed at doing anything. You're not very good at primary. You're really bad at secondaries, and you're really bad at just pushing your opponent around. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think it's going to be a low B tier, coming on B minus. I think later. Chaos Space Marines. This army sucks. The issue with Chaos Space Marines, I think it's like the high. I think it's going to be between B minus and C tier. I think Raptors is going to carry them up. The issue with Chaos Space Marines is their. So do you remember a year or 2 ago when they had to buff what's the moment or +1 to wound? You know why they did it? Because Space Marine vehicles can't kill anything. You know what Chaos Space Marines have? They have the same tanks.
The exact same
tanks, except they don't get oaths to make up for it. So the only thing they have over normal Marines is you have some okay melee data sheets. They've very much been pretty much eclipsed since, because this is a very old codex. It was pretty good in the index year 1 of 10th edition. They're not too good anymore. Remember Possess just that data sheet's terrible. So you're just running around with some dudes with some amount of power swords and a lot of chain swords, and it doesn't really do too well. And it's also like the second most attachments in the game, and they have like maybe 3 viable ones. So it's a very niche, like closed codex. They just don't have a lot going on for them. Like I said, I do think Raptors are an amazing data sheet. I think they will carry because they are super good in like the 3 viable or 4 viable detachments you have. Things like Renegade Raiders, Nightmare Hunt, especially Bile are amazing for Raptors, and I think that'll help them a lot because they didn't have that niche early skirmishing big damage unit at all. They just had like, that's why they took Legionnaires and Rhinos, because they were good at skirmishing, but they moved 6 inches.
As good as you could get, yeah.
Yeah. So, but they're just like they're very fair. It's going to be like some other armies. They do what they say on the tin. You can make an okay teams list, but this isn't really in mind of teams. Otherwise, some armies would be higher and lower. It's just like in a singles formation, and I think Black Tail versus Chaos Space Marines have like the same viability of winning like a GT.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. It's, at least when I look at CSM from an outsider's perspective, its identity has always seemed to be like the 3 wound dude army, right? And we're gonna go through this tier list, and we're gonna find a couple armies that do the whole 3 wound dude thing.
Hey, they got a new 3 wound dude guy coming out soon too. the little raider dudes, Custodes. This army's interesting.
Talking about 3 wound dudes.
Yes, 3
Here's
wound
an army
dudes.
for that.
This is actually why I made an A- tier army, because I haven't posted all the videos yet, but I played a shit ton of this new updated Custodian Guard list. Do not be fooled. This army still does fucking nothing. It doesn't do anything. It just stat checks you to all hell with 3 Land Raiders and 29 Custodian Guards with a reactive move. And a reactive move's auto 6 into a big tank is very, very good. You can also reactive move the tank, which is very niche. Most armies can't reactive move vehicles. That's very good. It also plays very well as we'll get into other armies. This army pretty much auto beats Scintillating Legion, because that army struggles to kill a Land Raider, let alone one with a 4 Feel No Pain, or 3 wound guys with 4 Feel No Pain against the 3 damage army is absolutely hell for that army. And you kill them at Mach 5 speed too once you get there. So that's very good. It's like I said, it's like the most inflexible army in the game. It just does what it says, but it does it very well. And you have the benefit of Custodes never struggle to kill things in melees, unlike some other melee armies, which can. You're just like, here's my 50 attacks with sus lethal reroll wounds. They just kills whatever you want, which helps a lot when you're an only melee army with essentially no guns. Got anything to add? And this is specifically one build, which is Custodian Guard spam with Land Raiders and Towns of the Empire. Normally Custodians are down here because they're just unplayable. And you see that because we're not running any characters. They're really bad.
No, I agree with every point you've made. It is very inflexible. It's, if an army can successfully move block you for 3 turns, it's very, very bad. If they can't, it works good, right?
This is very similar to like something like Wrath of the Rock. Wrath of the Rock just does what it says. It stat checks you with Lionel Johnson and 10 to 15 Deathwing Knights. And if that works, it works. And if it doesn't work, you lose. This army just does it very, very well. So, all right, Chaos Demons. This is going to be upper echelon. I think this is the best A tier army in the game, only due to one army, Scintillating Legion. How about you talk about Mr. Birdman?
Yeah, no, birds are amazing. This army is in such a good spot. It has one of the best damage profiles in the game, when buffed, of 1333. Very good number. Incredible gun. The damage delivery is also excellent. It's very easy to deliver said gun. With Puppet, you're shooting through units, like specific models and units, and it just makes deliverability super good. This makes this like semi-board agnostic because you're also like just generally a good shooting army while having incredible deliverability and durability. Lots of tricks, uppy downy out of combat. It's
that's an important part. If you didn't have uppy downy on big monsters, it would be a lot worse. But since you can just
it would, yeah,
get to the spot you need to, and you also have essentially the only good anti-loss in the game, which helps a lot or matters a crap ton. In Kairos Fate Weaver, and yeah, and then it's also very durable because you have things like the Scintillating Legion points, so you have a 4 pre-rollable save against the attacks that matter. So if you're like in a Lasgun meta, having a 4 pre-rollable save against Lasguns is very good. It's not as good against like
ignorable.
Yeah, it's not as good against 50 Custodian Guard melee attacks, but the las cannon's very awesome.
It does. It definitely just takes certain profiles.
And also,
like your army has one
profile.
So, yeah.
I was just gonna say, specifically against AdMech, the Scintillating Legion tokens are useless because they reroll hits and wounds anyway, so they don't even get to use them. So that's quite fun. Dark Angels. This army is fine. I think it's a mid to upper echelon B tier army. It has 1 detachment, and that detachment's okay. They have a decent Primarch, only because he doesn't cost any amount of points anymore. Deathwing Knights are good when they're good, and they're terrible when they're terrible. They seem to be really bad in Scintillating Legion, but I have not played against that, so I can't tell you.
Yeah, I can see them not being good.
Wound on, I guess, 3s, and then die anyways in 2 attacks. But some armies can't handle it, which is fine. That's why it's a very B tier army. They do the stat check thing. They were the only like actual stat checky army until Custodians rose up, but they still functionally well. And then they can bring some amount of guns, which helps. Like if you want to bring Centurions and such, which is nice, because it's always nice when you're a melee army and you feel like you have to take guns. That's always bad. Like something like Blood Angels, people always think you have to take guns all the time. But then those guns have no synergy with the army. They don't get any strats. They don't get any attachment. And it sucks ass. But when you're playing, something like Centurions and Dark Angels Wrath of the Rock, they get all the rules, which is really, really good.
These are actually good data sheets.
Yeah, and it's also like
with lots of benefits.
It's like the only good user of their +1 OC strat specifically, because I think gives you +1 hit too if you're if you're like a green win, quote unquote, which is like, so it actually gets actual synergy, which is nice. I quite like that. But like I said, some armies just auto stat check it. We'll get to one later. It's a funny little speedy army. And this army has incredibly awful objective control ability. There's just Deathwing Knights, that's always been their biggest issue. They're OC1, they're 50 points a model, and they move 5 inches. So you kill 2 to 3 of them, and they can never hold or do anything the rest of the game except slap you. So that's always the biggest downside. So I don't think you can rise to the A tier, but I think they're quite good. I do think they're better than T-Suns, though.
It's in a functional spot right now. Yeah. No,
yeah.
It's
Death Guard, this army sucks ass. As the guy who won Tacoma this year, the other attachments are always fake. They always were fake, and then they also got super nerfed with a Mortarian's Hammer. The biggest issue with this army is tenfold. A lot of the codex is around playing Plague Marines, and Plague Marines are honestly unplayable. They are so bad. They do nothing. They're a casino cannon because math-wise they're very good at killing things, but that math requires you to hit 5s, and sometimes you just don't hit 5s. And then your unit that on average one-shots any of the game didn't do anything, and it costs 300 points because you're forced to buy a Rhino, you're forced to buy 2 characters. For a unit that moves 5 and cannot advance a charge and has low-range guns, and the worst power fists in the game because they still hit on 4s when they used to be like the best melee unit in the game in 9th edition. It was very weird. I They're also a very inflexible army. It's an army that says if my OC3 Rhino chassis vehicle can hold a primary, I'm good. If my one drone, that's what they are, cannot hold a primary, I physically can't score a single primary point. And that happens a lot. They have a lot of weird attachments that just don't work, like Champions and Contagions, obviously the silly zombie detachment, and then the Grotmist detachment. These detachments just don't work, so you're kind of stuck to 3 detachments with Taliban Summoners, which got giga nerfed. Now you cannot take 4 great and clean ones. Mortarian's Hammer, which was taken out back, and so you're stuck with Vectorum, the index detachment, which is another stat checky army that's like, if -1 damage in melee is very good, it's very good, and if it's not, the detachment essentially has no rules. So if you're playing against things like guns, fast guns, or melee that doesn't care about damage 1, like say your damage 3 melee army or damage 1 melee army, you essentially have no rules. And that's like the biggest issue. Is like they're inflexible, they're incredibly slow, and they struggle incredibly hard at primary. And then they require you, since the army is balanced around these drone data sheets, to run all these type of drones. Right, back we go. And that's just the biggest issue, because the biggest issue with the drones is they were never very good. They were just undercosted, and now they're overcosted or equally costed. So their not very goodness comes out into fruition when you're forced to kind of run them still. What do you say, Mr. Nick? What is your opinion on the
I
Death
agree
Guard?
with every single thing you said, and I want to put some emphasis on their usability as an anti-melee army. I think you could justify like high C, maybe B- as that.
It's getting close
looking at them in comparison to
B2.
CSM and Black Templars, like they are better than those armies. I
think
agree with
they
every
are.
point you made, though. Right?
Yeah.
The place it has is a B- is because you can design a very good anti-melee army, but there's a lot of gun armies in the meta.
Yeah, I think specifically if you're trying to do something like that, you could try a Blight Lord build, make it -1 damage. They're the actual only good user of that strat that's really good in Vectorum, which is reroll hits and wounds. So that comes up. But that also doesn't, it's really bad against guns. That's the issue. I think it's a low B-, but it's only slightly better than these.
Yeah, you could justify either. It's the only thing is, is it better than CSM and Black
I think it's
Templar?
better than CSM because you have some things that bring it up for, like, I would rather play a bloat drone than a terrible predator, because predators are awful and that's all CSM has. And Death Shroud are quite unique, and CSM has no thing, like they don't have a unique, nothing in the army is unique. And having a demon primarch helps a lot when he's good.
It gives you a thing. Right?
Yeah, I think he's quite
It's
decent.
a roll.
Deathwatch, this army's fine. I think it'll be better because on the surface probably kill Kitans. The biggest issue, I think this army also auto loses to whatever it's called, the new Uncategorized detachment, because whatever it's called, what is it called, the god detachment, Pantheon of Woe, that's what it's called. The issue with Deathwatch, it's always been their biggest issue since freaking 3 years, is they have nothing to do when they're charged. They get in combat and they lose because they have no rules. And a Nightbringer that reactive rapid ingresses and auto advances 16 inches charges you is really bad. It's really bad for them. Or the Deceiver, who honestly probably kills like 7 Indominators by himself, because that model really good profile is broken. So yeah, I think they struggle, and like I said, they're fine. They're an uppy downy guns army, but they're not very cheap. They could only essentially run 1 detachment. They're forced into playing the Black Spear because their army is essentially designed around that detachment. Once you don't get the detachment rules, their day sheets are big stinky. And they don't really have like a lot of really great data sheets. They honestly only have 2, which is the Indominator kill team and the Veteran kill team, the baseline guys. And it's like, it's really not worth giving up, like just playing any other ones, because remember, you don't get +1 to wound oath. You're actually sacrificing a real thing to get teleporty eradicator type guys who don't have the rerolls. But like I said, it does have that issue of this army just gets wrecked by melee, and that's really not a good place to be, especially if you think there's gonna be fast melee armies, like, you know, right here, something else that's coming up next, or Necrons. So yeah, this army is OP, by the way. Drukhari, 1 detachment. If it's the other detachments, it's down here, by the way. We got Spectacles Fight, S tier. This is one of the best armies in the game. I think it's like the 2nd or 3rd. It's also the hardest army in the game. This is the hardest army in the game to play. Back last year, when Yunari was prolific, we had a lot of Eldar players just not want to play Yunari because it was way too hard. We have one right here. because that army was incredibly fucking hard to play as we both played it. Drukhari is 100 times harder than that, and it hurts my brain to play this army. But this army's broken. It has the best strat in the game, not even close, which is challenge map. It is the best go second army in the game. Your opponent can physically never score a primary point if you play against a Spectral Sky player playing a good amount of witches, at least 40 to 50, if not more, going second. It is the fastest army in the game by an ass load. And it has very unique, amazing melee profiles. It's one of the only melee armies in the game that can get mass AP4. That is not a thing for other melee armies. You'll be lucky to get AP3. You'll be lucky to get AP2. But this Drukhari can just go a little squad AP4 and just kill you. They're also not expensive. They're not cheap. That is a misnomer, which is just still like 9 points per model, but they are not expensive for like in the Eldar chassis of models, which is very good. And like you also have very other niche things. You like one of the best at shooting infantry models that don't have great saves, which is just a very fun niche to have. Like you're one of the best armies at killing like things like orcs and admech in the shooting phase, which is very weird, but it's a thing to have. So it's just like combined, you're the fastest army. You're an amazing melee army. You don't cost a lot. You're the best go second army in the game. You have the best strat in the game.
Comes down to really powerful primary denial. Like
yeah.
You do a lot of other things, but you at the same time, powerful primary denial.
And like in a team's, this is about singles specifically, but in a team's formation, if you play a list designed like mine, which is a lot of witches without scourge and stuff, you're also the most agnostic army in the game because your opponent doesn't know your role. You can either be a heavy defender, you can be the guy who's trying to get scrummed every game, or you can attack an enemy army. But your opponent, just looking at like a 50-60 witch, cannot know what you're trying to do. If they see like a lag or a Rage Curse onslaught, they're like, no, they're like, that guy's going to defend like second or fourth, try and get a super heavy board. So they know how to try and pin you. Or if you play like a Drukhari with a bunch of like Haywire Scourges, they know like that guy can't play into demons. He needs to play into like vehicle melee armies. So that can be pinned. But a Spectral Spite list with my style cannot be pinned, and it's awesome. That is for teams, that's not the really tier list, but that is a real benefit.
Something to account for, right? It has to be factored in.
But yeah, there you go. Army. Gene Steer Cults. This army sucks and no one plays it. Doesn't do anything. It had one detachment that got deleted off the face of the earth, and they got no recompense for it. Some people are trying to play the Abominate detachment. It's just like,
yeah, there's some fringe. There's fringe with that. There's also fringe with, I forget, it's the Tyranny detachment. Do you remember what that detachment is called?
It's called Final.
It's very fringe,
Final
but
Take.
it does exist.
Yes,
it is there.
Yes, people do try to run it, but none of these are good. The army just doesn't do anything. It had like its very cheesy niche that was taken away, like infinite rezzing, OP teleport guns, none that exists anymore. Stupid strats, all the strats they used to have, crits on 5s, full reels to hit, blah 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 blah. They don't have anything, so they're not a niche. They're not the best horde army. They're not the best teleporty guns army. They're not the cheapest army in the game. They have no niche. They do nothing very good.
Argue Biosanctic in particular does offer a unique niche, but past that, yeah,
which is what is this unique niche? Tell me.
A deep strike army that's looking for MSU. Right. It does provide that. It has access to guaranteed deep strike charges if it's MSU, which is interesting. I don't disagree. I think C tier is correct for this army, right? But I think there is a place for it.
I still can't even rate it better than Black Templars, I'll be honest. Grey Knights. This army is not good. I do know one of the best Grey Knights player, Mr. Garrett on Objective Secured. He's my buddy. But if we look at the team event I just went to, the Tennessee Elite Open, this shows you like the issue with Grey Knights. Is he was top 15 set of 200 players, and the other like 4 Grey Knight players were literally unironically bottom 5. Because this army is both very expensive, not durable. Like you don't even have things like AOC. It unironically has like 1.5 detachments. You have the agents can't save you because agents aren't good anymore. Like cheapest agents, 60 points for an agent squad. And it's just like they're an army where it's like, do purifiers kill you? Yes, I can win. If no, this sucks. This is really bad. If purifiers can't kill you, like well, they can kill Catan because you're shooting, but like just specifically, if purifiers aren't good into you, they struggle really hard. Especially things and Dread Knights. Dread Knights are a very awkward profile because you're kind of forced to run them, but they're also T8. And they're very awkward. So this army, it's like Custodians, but worse. Because like a normal Grey Knight Terminator costs more than Custodian Guard now, let alone Paladin, which is...
I always kind of view them as like a rat killing army.
Yeah.
Like they're very efficient if they get to, you know, get a lot of value out of multiple teleporting activations that are efficient. And I mean, it's also just rat armies just don't exist right now.
No. And it's just like the issue is like you're teleporting going to shoot someone, you kill them, and then you die in return usually. And like when your cheapest unit's 120 points, if you're not like a librarian or something, that's a really bad issue.
An efficient trade.
No, they're just too unforgiving and too hard. I will say I do think they're better than Deathwatch though. I don't know if I think they're better than Death Guard. No, I do think they're better than Death Guard because they have a niche. Like I said, like Purifiers can and will kill Catan on objectives. Grandmasters rapid ingressing, especially if you bring like 2 Grandmasters, will just kill a Catan. Because
this is a real threat to most things in the game.
Wound and damage, and it's D6 damage, you know, not halved anymore. That's really good. But yeah, that's just that. All right, Imperial Knights. This army now has 1 build. I think that build's better than Chaos Knights, which is the triple Lancer build.
Yeah, I think that's a very solid build.
This army can auto beat people on turn 1 if you're not experienced into it or not very good at 40k. I do, like I said, I think we talked about this. I think this is just better as like a meme skew of the big spam.
And it does have that, right?
And
it has its niche.
Yeah, and you get the issues that this army has. This army doesn't have. This army has fallback shooting charge. This army has advanced charge. This army has a shit ton of CP. This army
the inherentness of being a melee army also makes it so you're scoring secondaries better than an AFK.
And they can get OC 12, which matters a lot in Spectral Sight because five witches will not steal Lancer objective, which matters a lot. And they have the invul save, so they don't get randomly dunked down by random melee attacks, which matters a crap ton.
I think that's a really big deal. Yeah, that's a very big deal.
I'm close to putting them at A-, but I do think they're better than Dark Angels, but it's close to this. I do think this army is just better.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think B is fair because Custodians is just a superior army.
Yeah, anyway. let's put it to A- and probably dump them down. Okay. Because this does have the benefit of. It's not like a real benefit, but like in reality, this army will auto beat people who are bad and don't know. This army will lead you to easy 2-0s, 3-0s at the first AGT. So like, what does army do? And you get charged by a Lancer going 24 inches in turn 1, and then you lose the game.
There's just this real aspect of like, you can say this moves 22 inches or whatever it moves, and your opponent will be like, yeah, okay, sure. But that's different than experiencing. Like this moves 22 inches and moves through walls.
And then kills you. And then you're like, if you don't kill this guy right now, you lose on the spot because you're about to get charged by 2 more next turn. You're like, oh.
Yep.
Okay. That's not good. And if you go like second, then you can get turn 1 charged by three Lancers. Like, oh wait, you had to move your models up? All right. I'm gonna go 16 inches now.
I do think this army takes kind of strays from Necrons and Guard and a couple of our other armies being really relevant in the meta. Yeah. And so I think that could be an argument to lower it to B.
Necrons is...
The top armies are going to be teched to deal with things like this, but I don't disagree.
Because we have... I want to bring up Necrons real quick. So Necrons has, like, the benefit. These guys kill each other quite easily, but Catans will get one shot by a Lancer if they let the saves go through, which they didn't before, which is interesting. But then, like, a Void Dragon, like... Actually, the issue is also, like, you know, this guy has a 4-up invul save and a crap ton of wounds. These guys have 4 more saves.
Sharks don't one-shot those knights. They
less
do not
wounds.
One-shot them.
So that's interesting. I think they play very weirdly into each other, and I do think the knights do the Titanic monster match better because it's OC4 versus OC 10 to 12. So I think if it's like an Avatar, a Pantheon of Woe list, I think Necrons loses. But if it's like a more generic Necron list with like 2 to 3 Catans and like real models behind it, I think Necrons are in a very favored spot.
I totally agree. I think it's dependent on. I think Wraiths plus Silent King is very problematic for Imperial Knights, but I think Shards are quite easy to kill, as you said.
Yeah, Orcs. This army sucks. This army's awful.
I completely agree.
Awful. This is the closest to D tier army. I'm very tempted. This army's so bad. This army does nothing. You're tricked into thinking Gasco plus 20 boys is good. It's not. It's really bad. You know how much that point unit costs? That unit costs 500 points, and it freaking moves 6 inches, and it's 23 models. This is the hardest. This is the most awkwardly usable unit in the game. This is why you put Gaz in.
Yeah, it is just too expensive for what it's trying to do.
Right? And the army doesn't do anything otherwise. It's a melee army where your baseline profile is 3 attacks at 4-1-1. I think like
it struggles into Marines. It struggles into anything with Armor of Contempt. It struggles into big stuff. Like you can't struggle into Marines and big stuff and be a functional.
Yeah, and you have to like you have these like units that are like niches and specifically good into specific things. Like you have boys, which are good into hordes. You have tank busters, which are very good into big boys, and you have knobs, which are very good into elites. But none of these are really good into like. They're like good into the thing, but they're not good all around. So you have a lot of times you're taking this day sheet, which is unironically just awful in specific things. For instance, like right here, if you take a bunch of knobs and you play against Spectral Spite, the Drukhari player's gonna laugh at you. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. And if you take like a bunch of boys without like Gazcool into like knight armies, you're just unironically not gonna do anything, or any army with AOC. So these day sheets are neither very powerful and they're very one note. And also you're a army that can only do melee, except for the times they make shooting too overpowered sometimes. And you have once per game advance and shoot, otherwise you move 5 and 6 inches, which is really not great. They have one jump pack unit that can't kill anything. It just runs around. They have one support unit, which is good, which is commandos. But the issue with commandos is you're forced to bring 2. So you can't just buy a 60-point commando. You have to buy 2. You have to buy 120-point commandos, split it up. So that makes your best support unit like awkward to get into lists. And yeah, and like I said, this army like has one good day sheet besides for Gazcool, which is knobs, and like knobs are good, but they're not like.
But then they struggle into a lot of things, like you said, right? There are things that they just don't want to see.
Yeah, and like this army, this army just doesn't do anything. It sucks.
I think it leads to just being problematic in singles. Like
I think it's better in Gene Circles though.
Yeah, that's probably true. You just can't design an army that functions in a scenario where you're playing into lots of different things. It's just too difficult to do that. But then it also doesn't do the specialization job better than other armies that are actually trying to specialize in something. So I think that's where the problem lies.
Or orcs. Guard. This army's quite good. I think it's slightly overhyped. I think it's one of these is the highest A tier. I do think this army's slightly overhyped because people like Combined Arms, and Combined Arms is not Combined Arms. Grizzle Company. And overall, Grizzle Company is just a slightly better Combined Arms. Like, it's better against like shooting armies. That's about it. It's
because you lose the 20 brick reviving. You certainly lose things, right? It is. I don't want to say side grade, but like there is loss involved in taking
like,
new detachment.
For like Spectacle Spite, it's strictly worse than Combined Arms. That's a Spectacle Spite thing because it's like, is lethal hits important against the Cultist Army? No. Is it North cover good against the Cultist Army? No. Is AOC in the shooting phase good against the Cultist Army? No. But in general, like it is a side grady, but like the upper end of a side grade. It's like what I didn't say it here, but like Liberator Assault Group to Rage Curse Onslaught. Lag is better into bigger things. Rage Curse Onslaught is better into melee, but you probably want the ability to be okay into big things and better into melee. So Rage Curse Onslaught is like a side grade, but like the upper end of a side grade.
Also, just this is the premium defender gun army, and that has to be like pointed out. It just that is its job. It does it great.
And that just also happens very well on like singles events because like they can't. Not every single event is like we're gonna play table 8, 7 rounds. It's like it's gonna be table 8 twice, table 1 once, and then like table 3, 4, 6 like twice or 3 times. You're like guards gonna go like, what's up?
That is, I think, part of the reason it's also an A tier. His previous combined just was completely incapable. Like if you were on a dense table, it didn't function at all, right? Whereas Grizzled can function on denser tables with specific builds, while still retaining that really like quality.
Yeah, you can bring
my board choice shooting.
You can bring the super efficient Kazarkin / Scions or the Bulgrin, be very sweet and chillax, which is nice.
Yeah.
And Vanquishers are just a day she exists and does not cost a lot of points. Do they do anything? No. But sometimes they have 3 flamers, and that's annoying. Guard good. This is not an S tier army. Don't believe the cope, but they're very good. I do think they're better than Chaos Demons.
Yeah, that's fair.
I do think it's better. I would trust Guard more than Chaos Demons. Necrons. This army's broken, by the way. They're broken because they also have multiple builds. Like first, you can play Pantheon or Wo-Katan spam. Second, you could play Destroyer Cult with either no Catan or all Catans or some Catans. That attachment's probably the best melee army in the game, or one of them. Then you can play Star Shatter and Awakened Dynasty with or without Catans. And we're at like 7 builds at the moment, by the way. It's very silly. It's very dumb. Catans. Here's a fact. Catans needed to go up 100 points to not be broken, and GW said increase them by 10. They are disgustingly broken. They're not fun. The Deceiver is the most unfun day sheet they printed this edition. They don't bracket.
Yeah, no, they do not.
They have 16 wounds.
Woe Deceiver is incredible. It is an
You
incredible.
put the Deceiver and you put like Illuminator Ceres or Achimar next to him or some race, and you can get one model into melee with him. It's infuriating. It's not balanced. This model is not balanced. It's
a problem because a lot of his brokenness comes from the old model too.
Yeah, but they should not have increased his stats. This army's OP. Because like I said, you have, besides those, just complaining about Catans, which are broken. And like I said, I think the Catans is going to bring us to a really annoying, awful coin flicky meta, because I think Ultramarines will just bring 3 Vindicators, 3 Eradicators, and just nay on Catan spam. But then other armies that do not care about Vindicators and Eradicators are just going to shit on the Ultramarines doing that, and it's going to be a really stupid coin flippy meta. Like similar to what Eldar Knights were like 5 months ago.
Fair. Yeah, it does mirror that.
But yeah, due to having one of the best melee armies in the game, the best big durable monsters in the game, being one of the most flexible armies in detachments in the game, and then having other things like you have CP economy, you have one of the best centerpieces, which is Silent King. No, not kind of Catan's the centerpiece. And you have some of the best. You have amazing objective haul and things like race or warriors in a specific attachment, which is Awakened Dynasty. So they do like everything. We're not even talking about Hypercrypt, which Hypercrypt Catan spam might even be the best way to play Catan. Yeah. Remember that it used to be the best army in the game when they didn't have Deep Strike.
Yeah.
Now they do. So yeah, this army's broken, and it's going to be contention between a different army as the best army. But Sisters, this army's good. It's very good.
Yeah, this is a solid army. Yeah. There's a lot of build options still.
Yep, they have like 3 amazing attachments and Bringers, Hallowed Martyrs, and Champions of Faith. They have a lot of pretty much every day sheet in the book is good. They even got one day sheet, which is kind of weird, but it's playable. And the new guys, whatever the fuck, bonk stick dudes. Like there's barely, I can't even like think of a day sheet in that book that's even like bad or unplayable. So they got probably the best. Yeah, it's like the most open-ended book. Many good
data sheets.
You guys run anything. They have some of the best attachments in the game, so they can do everything. They're decent at primary. They're very quick. They're very good at shooting and or melee, especially for like an army that's
consistent.
Yeah, they're just consistent. They just do everything. It's great. Yep. They're very efficient. They don't do anything like explosively weird or crazy, but they do everything good. It's kind of like AdMech. They're both like similar. They both do things just great. They're just great. Space Marines, wow, Veteran Scar,
look at that.
Wow, I don't know which one's better.
Shocking the world with your opinions, Steve.
It's one of them. This army's still broken. By the way, Veteran Scar should not have got a points decrease. It's returned. That day she's still broken, by the way. Don't let the people fool you. I've played this like a million games against nerfed Vetrix and pre-nerfed Vetrix.
Still incredible. Yeah. It's still
they have the most options. They still have some of the best characters. Obviously, we're talking about Ultramarines. Obviously, other attachments are a meme. They have the million attachments. They have the most attachments in the game. You can play Blades of Ultramar, Gladys. You can even play the new one. I think Titus is the least fun data sheet they've ever printed, and I hate that model. He's toxic because he's either overpowered or unusable, and it's like that's just not a good model. It's like some armies like Drukhari and Oryx and stuff he just auto beats them. Or some armies like, T-Sons and other armies go like, you don't even know how to rule. It's like, okay, why'd you print this? But like, I think there's a lot of variables, a lot of variety now. You can play Wardens of Ultra by themselves. You can play Wardens of Ultramar like with Blade Guard veterans and a Land Raider Redeemer. You can still play 6, but you're going to play either 6 or 12 Vetrix minimum still, and up to 18 still, because they're still broken and they went down. This army still has some of the best single target shooting in the game. You just take Eradicators, Vindicators, and or Lancers with Oath, and the unit you look at dies. And
really
now
is a build your own adventure kind of shooting.
And now that we're not forced to take 18 Vetrix, you probably still are, depending on the meta, you can bring back Roberto and kill people very well in the shooting phase plus melee phase, because he's still essentially the best melee unit in Space Marines. He's still funnily better than this Primarch in melee, which has always been funny. But the army just does everything. Like, they have the most data sheets. The units are not expensive. Like 80 points for Intercessor is not a lot. 70 points for Scouts. They have a lot of efficient things. Obviously, they have Mr. Lone Op Man himself, Combi Lieutenant. And, there's not a lot to say. So when you're that flexible, you have the most viable detachments. You have the most data sheets. You have some of the best named characters in the game. You have amazing CP economy. So you're able to do anything you want. Like, you go many avenues. You're not locked in one thing. Drukhari, amazing. Locked into one value. You have one detachment. Army, not.
Doesn't need repeating, right?
I do. I'm still very. No, because I think Necrons is too toxic and auto beats too many armies. No one just like auto loses to Space Marines, except Vector's Guard against melee
There's
armies.
Always a game.
Yeah,
it's a painful game, but it exists.
Space Wolves. This army exists. It
does.
Fine. It's here. It's around here.
It is. It's around there. It's somewhere in B tier, like middle B.
I think
maybe you
Eldar
could
is
justify
better.
high B, but I like middle B.
Space Wolves doesn't like. They have the issue, the Space Wolves issue of if you're above T5, I shit my pants. They have the
some consistency issues with damage.
They have awful detachments. Like sometimes people try to bring the lethal hits detachment here and there. It's fine. Okay. That's about it. That's the best we can say about the Space Wolves attachments. They have one middling okay one. It's better than Black Templars. Where are they, guy? Back here. You're actually getting downgraded because you have no viable attachments. Terrible army. It's the only Space Marine army that can't play a single of their detachments. I think that actually should bring them down. Like they have efficiently good day sheets. Look, Logan Grimnar is boring as hell, but he's very good as a big 80 mil Vector guy. Obviously Arjak also boring as hell, but he punches vehicles in the face. And then they have the best Terminator.
It's either the best or it's the second best. It's one of the two.
It's like nothing exciting yet. The Terminators aren't interesting, but they're just efficient. The army just efficient.
Sheet, yeah.
And like I said, they can pivot. Like Wolfen might be good in Catans because they're at least damage 3 down to 2. So that's cool. When they wound them on 3s. I don't know if Wolfen wound on 3s because it always gets confusing between them and Votan with the slight differences between their hammers are. I think they wound on 3s. That sounds about right.
They do.
That's very good. But like I said, they have the issue of like, I'm bringing Spectral Sight again. Wolfen against Spectral Sight is an embarrassing matchup. Like 10 Wolfen like won't even kill like 6 witches. Hit on 3s, they even wound on 3s, and against an invul save. It's kind of sad. So you have that weird.
I think this army can tech for a lot of things,
yeah.
but it just struggles to be diverse while teching for a lot of things. Does that make sense? Like you're either bringing Wolfen and you can handle some of these top threats, right?
Yeah.
Or you're not bringing Wolfen and then, you know.
And it's opposite.
But when you bring Wolfen, you're very
talking about like the high tier meta armies. They do not like fighting Sanguinary Guard, and they definitely cannot handle Custodian Guards running in and out of Land Raiders every turn. That just kills it. So that's really bad in terms of the other, because it is just a stat check army. It like runs its 6 to 12 Thunderwolf, it's 15 to 20 Terminators, and it's 20 Wolf on you. And if it wins, it wins. And if you can beat the stat check, it beats the stat check. And so these better type of melee armies overcome it. But it's very good in things like Sisters, probably Admech, but I can't tell you from experience. Stuff like that. But like really bad into like potentially. If Wolfen can beat Catans, it'll be fine. If Wolfen cannot beat Catans, they auto lose.
It's very bad, yeah.
Yeah, and Chaos Demons. Such like that. Tau. What do I put this army? This army doesn't do anything.
This is a B army because I think it has a role and it does a thing.
I think it is better than Space Wolves, but this army doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything.
I mean, it shoots good.
Yeah, this army's like good in teams because you're like Monka open board, kill people, but Tau on table 8 wants to slit his neck. It's like, get me the hell out of here.
Specifically, the random tables of singles.
Yeah,
really
that's why
it is a functional army.
We cannot evolve them. They do have more viable attachments to other people. As actual viable attachments, they have Monka, Kroot Hunting Pack, and Retribution Cadre to an extent. Is that the Crisis Suit detachment?
It is the Crisis Suit detachment, yes.
What's the Combined Arms detachment? Auxiliary Cadre, is that it?
Yep. Yeah,
okay, Retribution Cadre is like okay. So they have 3 actually good singles detachments, as in the Grotmis, Ox 1, Kroot, and Monka. And then like they have 1 or 2 extra teams one. So they have an above average amount of viable attachments, which is very nice. And they don't like have a lot of bad day sheets. They just have like okay day sheets, but nothing that looks like actually bad. So you can run like every version of Crisis Suits. You can run all their tanks, all their Riptides, even broadsides, all their random stuff. So they have a lot of build variety, which is very good. Well, kind of before you add in 2 to 3 Sky Rays and 2 to 3 Riptides to starting your list. That's nice.
It also is they just have incredible scoring packages. They have some of the most efficient, like trash nonsense. Yeah, units.
Like Pathfinders are some of the best. Everything, because they infiltrate, they don't cost a lot. They have okay shooting. They're the best supporter in the army, and they can be
Vespid,
annoying.
Kroot,
Vespid.
So
they have so much stuff. It's just they always have the issue that they've always had is they have a couple things that punch up, but they don't punch up very well due to being in a strength 8 army. And then they're also and then they have the Grey Knight issue where the hell Grey Knights? Where their army caps out at a toughness. They cap out at T5 and 8, except for the like sky rays, and that's a really bad place to be sometimes. So it's hard to bring them higher. But being like the fastest shoots gun army in the game does help a lot.
Yeah, I know it helps a ton.
Tyrannus' army sucks.
I agree.
I think it's the gear.
I think if we're giving it points, it has a lot of viable detachments at its B- to C tier.
It has a lot
I
of
think
like
past that,
yeah, it's like it has what you're saying. It has a lot of viable attachments in the codex, but none of them are very good. Like Vanguard, Ass Swarm, Simulation Swarm, the Index attachment I can remember the name of. As a junior player, attention makes me honk shoe. Synaptonistic slightly. But yeah, it's just like they don't do a lot. They have the issue of any melee army where their melee thing can't kill anything. They can do interesting skews of Norns on objectives. You know what's better than Norns on objectives? Catan's on objectives. So Catan's kind of just eclipsed the Normans meta. Yeah, the niche in meta Norns had before.
But also just weaken it because people are going to be bringing anti-Catan things.
Yes,
right?
and Catan are substantially harder to kill than Norns. Just like strictly harder to kill in almost every way. And that's just if you're trying to do the Norn skew. But then there's like they're just running like essentially predators like Exocrines and Tyrannofexes. These are all like predator variants, but they're kind of worse, especially Exocrines because they're slower and more awkward to move around.
They certainly have problems with that.
They unironically don't have very good ways to score. Like they have their lone ops and then gargoyles, which cost almost 100 points. That's really it of things they can do.
It's lictors and biovores, and I mean, like those things are good enough at scoring points. That's probably okay.
Biovores have lost a lot of stonk since the beginning of 10th edition. They can't do too many secondaries anymore. You can do things like Aerodynal and like engage, and that's about it.
Behind enemy lines.
Yeah, that too.
And that's where we end it.
Yeah, they don't do too much. But it's nice having it. But yeah, they don't do a lot. They're really bad at like holding primary. It's like I need my Tyrannofix to send this objective, and it's like if you can't kill Tyrannofix, that's good. If you can, well, I can't hold this objective period. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. It feels very binary.
Yeah, they are just a very binary army that doesn't like punch up well. They obviously have a meme tiered army ability that like at TEO I failed 17 Shadow of the Warp tests. It didn't affect the game.
Sometimes when it works really good. It just doesn't work very often.
Well, you can have, either +1 to wound twice on 2 targets, or you can have an ability that sometimes doesn't do anything. It's like, that's the biggest issue. Yeah, that's the biggest issue with like army abilities in the game. It's like, they just don't do anything. Sad. It's one of my favorite armies in the game. Leagues of Votann. This army also doesn't do anything. This army sucks. This army's really
it's an average army that plays clean 40k without being crazy.
Better than these, but like,
yeah, I think it
is besides for Del Shift, which has its own issues, it is the most like pre-measurable, you know exactly what your opponent can do army in the game. So it's like, my land forts are going to move 10 and shoot you. My infantry is going to move 5 and shoot you. And I'm very low range at the same time. And I'm incapable of doing the melee phase. So it's just a lot of like things. And if your army, especially if you're playing against armies that are good at killing Land Raider variants, you're shit out of luck. And they have worse Land Raiders, because I'm pretty sure they don't have smoke, and they have the worst AOC in the game.
Correct. Yeah,
that's only one attachment, which is a bad attachment. Most people are not playing attachment anymore anyways. That need guard. Yeah. So they just don't do a lot. And I like their army ability now more than they used to, but they also went from like one of the best point and click kill specific targets in the game to an army that struggles killing big things. They didn't really get
not
anything.
A place you want to be right now.
Yeah, and they didn't really get anything back to help them kill big things. Like they didn't like, you're now the best at killing small things in the game. They just got like a more interesting army ability, which is probably just a worse ability, which is the delve points, where the heck they're called.
I think also just fundamentally, you shouldn't have to jump through hoops as a shooting army to hit on 3s. Yeah. And I mean, we've been seeing that. Like, Tau is not one of the best armies in the game, but we've made that ability almost not real.
Yes.
Right? It's incredibly easy to get your spotting target.
Actually a real hoop, because I've always said I hate abilities that require your opponent to do things. So for the first like 2 turns of the game, if your opponent's not on an objective, get fucked. You're hitting on 4s and 5s.
Yeah,
that sucks.
Have no way to affect that.
And then later in the game, you're like, I really don't want to be on this objective, but I don't have an option. Like, I have to be on this objective. So especially like in niche things, you're playing a supply drop or something, like you don't even have you're hitting on 4s and 5s, and there's nothing you do about it, and that it sucks so bad.
It really does. Yeah, it's
world leaders. This army
This is an A- tier army in my
it's
opinion.
close.
Maybe high B.
Yeah, it's like the highest B to A-. It's fine. It has one build, technically two if you count berserkers. So 1.5 build because it's the same detachment and such. And I think the issue is like they do one thing that Blood Angels does better, which
Blood Angels do it faster with
they faster and they hit much better because that's also a weird thing about World Eaters. World Eaters have the worst advanced charge in the game because it's before you roll the advanced roll and it's specific to only berserkers, which is so weird. I don't know what it's like, and that's rock to one detachment too.
It is. Yeah.
So they're like
which shockingly makes it the most played detachment for a lot of other reasons.
Spectral Spike also has taken their niche. Like they are a fast melee army, but they're not a speedy melee army. But then you could be playing things like Blood Angels, which are fast, or Drukhari, which is insanely fast. It's like, or like Stormlance, which is faster too. So it's like they don't really have much of a niche. The Forge Fiend is like okay nowadays. It's not that great. It's been nerfed like 2 times, so he's not OP anymore. He's just a day shoot.
A little bit too expensive now.
Yeah, it's like fine. And then like you do have the issues of like you're pretty good on the charge, but if your opponent charges you or you get like Blood Surge into or something like that, Berserker melee profile without the charge is the worst thing ever for like 18 points.
Incredibly anemic.
But they do
very tankable.
They do have a niche where they're one of the very few armies in the game that you can expect to turn 1 charge people or interact with turn 1 with like spawn. Those armies cannot do that, which is very good. Like I said, you are just a fast army, which helps a lot when you're just moving 10 inches on your army. That is really good. And then Exalted 8-bound, and specifically, this is why it's going to be A- to the B tier. Like Exalted 8-bound, especially the Slaughter Brute with +1 damage, will just one-shot at Catan. Just punch him in the face and he'll die.
They will.
Which is really good. And they have the niche of like, they have the auto fight on death that gets Catan, so like maybe they'll just kill the Catan on their opponent's turn too, which is really bad for them. Obviously, Catan could just shoot Exalted 8-bound to death with probably no effort because Exalted 8-bound are made of paper. But it's still a good ability to have.
It is.
But like I said, they would be higher if they had any flexibility, but they just do one thing. They do it decently well. Not the best like they used to be.
They're in need of some quality of life changes, like some touch-ups on a couple stratagems. The Berserker stratagem just needs to be rewritten and just be like, pick a unit, it advances and charges.
Yeah, it's
and like
very
a couple
weird.
Little changes would help so much.
And like if they had a second attachment, that would be cool. They pretended to have a second attachment for like 3 minutes until you deleted that strat.
Listening to it out loud, I kind of think this maybe is a B tier army and not an A.
I think it is. Like I think this. I also think this army fucking just auto loses to the Custodies army.
It does.
It's like they can't beat a react move until land raid, and then they will just kill them at Mach 5. Because it's like I would rather have like for meme tier 1 charges, I don't have 3 Lancers, and Blood Angels is almost the exact same army who does it better, and then Spectral Spite is a close to them as the super fast melee army. It's like they kind of lost their niche. I do think they're better than all these armies though, so like I do think it's the best. I think it's very close, but I do think these are better.
It is close, yeah.
Alrighty.
Missing EC, right? I think we have one more.
Where the heck did EC go? Let me find it. Let me get a picture. All right, boys, we found an EC picture. All right, I'm gonna let you, Nick, tell me what your opinion of EC is before I get mine. This is not me saying you're B tier. So
this is one of the fastest melee armies in the game, right?
Yes.
My problem with it is that it has a couple very, very efficient data sheets that are clearly very, very good. And they have been getting point raises for a while now.
Yes.
And I think that this is a decent army, but I think they struggle with stat checks now because they don't have enough things to kill said stat checks. And I mean, if we look at the top of this meta, that's a lot of stat checks.
Yes.
That's a lot of stat checks. They're everywhere, right?
Yes.
And so I think putting it in, you could maybe justify A- tier, but I think going above that is kind of a struggle because it's just not going to compete with some of those higher tier armies. Maybe Sisters on that list it functions into, but everything else is going to be an uphill battle.
Okay. I'm going to say why I think this army is better than that. One, it's very good to Blood Angels. Blood Angels will struggle very high into EC Demon Princes and the Noise Marines. The thing is why EC is tricked. They're scamming you. They trick you into playing things like Court of the Phoenician and Flawless Blades and Fulgrim. Those things are awful. They're not real. That has nothing to do with the data sheet. Court of the Phoenician is one of the worst statures I've ever seen in my life. Holy fucking shit, when I played against that thing. Oh my god. But don't play those attachments. Play the only attachment that matters. GW, they tried really hard to make this book bad, and they made one good attachment by accident. When you have the best army build in the game, which is the EC army build, it is the best army build in the game, You
It is incredibly good.
they have the best demon prince. That data sheet is fundamentally unbalanceable. It is either going to be 260 points and bad, or people are still going to play 3 of them because they're fundamentally broken. And then things like Noise Marines and Lord Exaltants, it just carries an army. So it's similar to something like old Eldar, where you had the ability to do anything, but they still have the ability to do anything. Yeah, it's one of the hardest armies in the game to play now. Something similar to Special Smite, due to you're running like 7 models, and they have to carry you, and you need to like know when to sacrifice your early boys so your big boys later in the game can do everything. They will obviously struggle. Things like Catan, most likely, stuff like that. They're quite good in something like Drukhari. I feel like they're quite good into the guard, especially depending on the build. If they're like running like a more generic build with things like more Khazarkin, like 1 to 2 Dorns, things like Bolgrin, EC should scoop that up. Like I said, they're very good into Blood Angels, like especially like the if you're playing Rangers Onslaught, because you don't get your fight and death against 6 mortal wounds in the charge phase. And Sanguinary Guard, you know, when you're losing 2 Sanguinary Guard in the charge phase before someone charges a second Demon Prince in, it's really bad. And then Blood Angels pretty much can't kill Winged Demon Princes due to the -1 damage and the Fight Me strat and the AOC and stuff. But they do obviously hate Knights of all varieties. They do play well into the Custodes. I just played against it yesterday. Because Custodes don't have rules. They just try and throw their guard at you. Obviously, the guard are very good at killing anything in EC, but Noise Marines, Demon Princes, and Lord Exaltant rerolls are very good at killing guard. The second you lose like 1 to 2 Land Raiders to like mortal wounds and just dudes punching up, the Custodians are just out in the open. They just eat it, which is really bad for them. So I think they just do to them, if you play the build and the detachment, they're quite amazing. I would rather play like EC than World Eaters, for instance.
This is fair. I guess maybe I just have a lower.
It's hard because
opinion of them than that.
It's like Drukhari, where they have a perpetually low win rate due to being insanely hard armies and
certainly
playing bad detachments. But they do broken things like that.
They're certainly very fast. They're certainly incredibly fast.
It's just them being fast and untouchable due to having that detachment ability or that army ability. And then Coterie being one of the best attachments in the game. It just has some of the best strats. You have 4 reels to hit for 1 CP. You have the Fight Me strat, which is God tier. You have in worlds of things like Mortal Wounds coming out. You have a 6 up Feel No Pain and 4 up against mortals. You have AOC, which is quite important. Stuff like that.
I mean, it is a good strat.
Yeah. And the second you kill 3 units, you have one. People jerk off Grizzled Company and Subterranean Assault for getting real 1 state and sometimes a second ability. EC kills 3 units to get real 1 state wound on their whole army plus other buffs. Let alone getting
the detachment is certainly like the point that makes the army good.
Yeah, I'm not
it's
like
just,
I said. If you're playing a different attachment, this army's going down here. This
oh no, for sure. That's not even a
conversation. If you're playing like Mercurial Host, Court of the Phoenician, you're living in lowest C as possible, close to D.
Every game I find my opponent has to invest princes too early in the game.
Yeah,
because of lack of consistency into any form of stat check at all. Like not even
the
heavy
biggest
stat
issue.
checks. Not a Catan shard, right? Something lighter than that.
It depends on the stat check. Like they shit on Dark Angel stat check, for instance.
That's fair. Yeah, anything without mortal wound protection is problematic.
Or like T-Sun's Terminator spam. They'll just like kill a whole. They'll charge like 2 to 3 imprinces and kill 10 Terminators, and you're like, well, this sucks. My army doesn't work anymore. So it's just like they might struggle with Catans, which is realistically, and they do struggle with Knights, but also Chaos Knights struggle with them too. Like a spoiler, like will not kill an ECD imprints.
Yeah, the Gattlers don't kill ECD.
So that's correct. Like they struggle to kill each other, which is good. So I think they like in real stat check terms, because we're not really in like a mass vehicle besides like Knights, which aren't amazing. Spam. We're not like
and
people.
We're
not running 3. 1 army is potentially 2 because. I'll just say hot take. I think Grey Knights can do the Custodes build almost better. 3 Land Raiders, 15 Purifiers, Paladins with Purifiers, and you play it in Banishers or Warpbane. Because Banishers actually has rules and has like a lot of rules. But that's probably the point. We're not in like we're not in, the biggest one, Bringers of Flame a year or 2 years ago. We're not in that type of stat check meta anymore. There's only few armies. Like I don't even know if this counts because it's 4 models that never want to leave their DZ and want to hide like little babies. Tzeentch Demons, Guard kind of depending on the build, but Guard is quite, what's the word? There's not a locked in build.
Diverse.
People bring one Dorn commander, they bring 0 Dorn commanders. If you have Alliances, sometimes they bring 2. You bring between 0 and 12 Bulgarin. You bring between 0 and like 4 Lehman Russes, 10 to 30 Khazarkins. They have a lot of options, 0 to 30 horses. Depending on the build specifically, if they're playing like not 3 Dorns, EC will just like table like a Grizzle Company list. Like I have a bunch of Horsies, I have a bunch of Scions, I have X and X and X, I have Bulgarin. EC's being like, damn, I'm gonna kill you now. And it's really cool for them.
Fair enough. No, I've been convinced.
I'm quite happy, but it's close. I just think they're better than World Eaters. I do think it's the best BT army, but this army doesn't do anything. It punches maybe Catans very well. It does. It will just like kill Catans. So it's very good. You know what? I'm gonna do it. Since this army kills Catans, right now, you're the lowest A- tier. I've been convinced. I'm changing it. All right, I'm demoting EC and putting World Eaters A- tier just because it kills Catans with impunity, which is really cool. To be fair, an Exalted 8 panel, the Slaughter Brute costs more than a Catan, which is not great.
Yeah.
But
at least you're killing them, right?
It's the only army that can do that efficiently, like at all.
Yeah.
This army can't do. Orc boys, get in there, except for the Seaver, because I can't fight him. 20 Orc boys is Gasco though. That will kill like the Nightbringer.
It will, yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Almost every time.
And then they'll roll the 3 up and kill all 20 boys. Ayo.
Yeah.
All right, so this is our tier list. I think it's quite good. Is there anything we should change? Let's see. Let's go through it. Necron's OP, Space Marine OP, Special Flight OP, Guard amazing.
I think S and A tier are pretty locked in.
Yeah.
Like, I think these are.
We already talked about these. I'm not really changing anything. The only one, Custodies. Like, you know what? I am locking it in. Custodies are better than Sisters.
I think that's a reasonable take, actually.
This is besides Catan, this is the best stat check in the game.
Certainly, yeah. It's providing something more unique than Sisters is providing.
And auto beating an army everyone hates is very good. That's like a real thing. You are scared as soon as they're leading, and you send a Feel No Pain Lantern at them, and they want to shit their pants.
It's a hard counter,
which is very cool. Yeah. These, like I said, these are also, we're talking about the best build. Knights is like an C tier army unless you play 3 Lancers and Champions of Questoris Champions, I think the attachment's called. Then it's really good. World Eaters we've talked about 1,000 times. EC we've talked about 1,000 times. Dark Angels has 1 build. They do it decently. T-Suns has a million.
Eldar's a little lower in B tier. That's a change.
I think it's worse than Tau, but I do think they're better than Space Wolves.
This is fair.
Because like I said, they have a lot of counter meta thing. Like you can now start playing more like we did in Yunari days, suicidal 5-man fire dragons, and they will just kill Catans, which is really good.
It is a little swingy though. 5 dragons is like 4 to 7 damage to it.
Well, yeah, I'm not talking about 5. I'm talking about you sending like all your fire dragons. The second you kill Catans, the Necron army will do nothing to the Eldar, and you'll be fine.
Yeah,
which is really good. Because also remember, it's like 3 squads of fire dragons is like the same price as a Catan, especially if it's like Avatar, Pantheon, or Will. So that's a fine trade. Let alone taking like maybe 20. T-Suns and Tau have build variety, but they just do everything decently. Nothing, neither of them do anything amazing. But they're just fine. We just talked about Eldar. Space Wolves we talked about. I'm not going to lower them or increase them. It's another stat check, but they're not. They're like a lower stat check, like Knights.
Something I want to touch on, and I think this genuinely is, it's because it's the first army we addressed, and I actually think we need some time to see how the meta sits and how these things perform. I think T-Suns could be an A- tier army. I think we need more information on it, and we also just like a build isn't even settled on, right? There's still debate on if it's Coven or if it's like what it is. And I think that's important for this conversation. So I think either is fair, but I think there's a world where it ends up A-.
I'm going to do this because it actually has build variety. I think that brings slightly in tier because these don't. Because one detachment.
They're all locked into what they're locked into.
One detachment. These do have detachment choices, like Eldar has a lot, which is very good, and Tau has a lot. Leagues of Votan's army has 2 viable detachments, which is Hearthband and Delve Shift. What they do, all the struggles we talked about. Delve Shift helps with the struggles of the army because it has the auto advance, like advance to charge. But if it's like your unit is T6 1 wound with no save, and that profile with like really good anti-tank melee, but it's really good anti-tank melee. So either that profile is amazing or it's completely useless. Otherwise, you don't have too many rolls. And like they have a really OP strat, the enhancement, the auto res between 1 and 9 berserkers enhancement. Which is very funny. It is funny because that is one niche, is that enhancement essentially makes you immune to Overwatch, because that used enhancement after the reinforcement step. So it's like after Overwatch is done, after everything is done, you get to res everyone. So that's kind of cool. But like I said, it's like you're playing an army of Thunderwolves, not with Thunderwolf, Wolfen, and that are easier to kill mostly. And Wolfen, as we know, have really bad profiles in a lot of things. Like they're good at killing big boys. That's also like, actually, I have to update Votan because Delve Shift will hard counter Catan spam.
It will. It is very, very good.
There's 50 guys that wound you on 3s at 3 damage, and they have the one good thing they have is they have fight on death 3 up baseline. So
do they have an ignore mod strat, or am I thinking of a different detachment?
it's not attachment has it. They don't. I'm almost sure. Let's check. They don't ignore mods, but they do have 4 reels to wound. So you know you can have 30 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, 4 reels to wound. I'll just punch a Catan in half.
I mean, that will do it. That will do the job.
So yeah, in a meta sense, they're updated, but I think overall it's like a B- tier army in general. But we have cringe boys up here right now. Grey Knights, we talked about
and
it.
Also just like good into Vitrix too.
Yes.
Not bad profiles there.
Yeah, 3 damage is very good into Vitrix now. It was terrible before, not so much. That's also a niche like meta thing. This is Delve specifically. I think the other Votan attachments are down here, but Delve like specifically into both of these. If like Space Marines are back to pivoting to vehicles and Vitrix, amazing into both, and then Catan amazing into pretty much any Catan. Even Destroyer they're the worst into, but Destroyer spans mass 3 infantry 3 wound models. Sadly they're T6, and Votan guys are strength 5, so that's bad. Like that. They have 4 reels to wound if you need it, but it is just a bunch of 3 wound guys, so they'll just one shot them when they get a wound through at least. That's like the worst detachment you could play. Well, I guess they're really bad in Awakened Dynasty that runs like 1 to 2 Catan. You have no way of killing 20 berserkers in that army. I mean 20 warriors.
20 warriors, yeah.
But yeah, overall, Grey Knights we talked about. They're too expensive, too hard to play. They have 1.5 detachments, very close to 1 detachment, and they're forced to play awkward day sheets like Grandmaster Dread Knights. Death Guard we talked about a bunch of times. They're not going up. Deathwatch, same thing. Death Guard is, Deathwatch is the least flexible army in the game. They have 1 detachment they're legally allowed to play for all intents and purposes, and they only have like 2 exclusively good data sheets while playing that army. And people aren't even playing one of the good ones anymore, which is the baseline veterans. They just play like Indominators and like kind of play like Fortis and Kill Teams. The Fortis aren't like an actual good data sheet. They're just like there. You can play them. CSM, biggest issue with them is you're essentially like Renegade Raiders. Renegade Raiders is very awkward because it's an attachment that has a weird amount of melee and gun buffs that don't really interact. Like you can go, I can be Assault, but I can also get rerolls when I disembark. I have a weird runaway strat. It's like this is a very awkward attachment. But it's one of the best ones due to having like the +1 AP that your opponent gets to choose if you get or not. Advantage charge. Besides the Destroyer Cult, which has the best advantage charge strat in the game. Do you know how their strat works?
I do not.
It's either the shooting or the charge phase. So if you want an advanced shoot and charge, you can use it in the shooting phase. Or if you just want the advanced charge part, you can wait till the charge phase to use it.
I see.
So it's like the most flexible version. But Renegade Raiders has the second best one because that sometimes gives you +1 charge too.
You're talking about specifically also when you're referring to Renegade, the build with the triple Lord Discos, correct? Or
no, I'm talking about a generic one people play, which is like 1 to 2, 1 to 3 Lord Discos, but then they play like between 3 and 6 tanks and then melee.
Yeah.
I think the triple Lord Disco is the best way to play. I think you just don't play guns in this army, but people don't do that.
Because like, could we consider that a B- tier army, specifically that build?
I think that only works in teams because.
This is true.
Yeah, because you can't really play
on certain tables.
Yeah.
Like heavily.
I do think triple Lord Disco is very good. I do think actually like Bile or whatever that new attachment's called, Nightmare Hunt, is the best attachment now with the Raptor buffs.
It's like I could see that being a B- tier army, right? Nothing above.
I think those. I think the issue is it's untested. Like it might completely flop.
It's true.
Nah, I'm gonna do it. I think it's actually better than Deathwatch.
Yeah, it's kind of looking at the tier list now.
No, Deathwatch's not B tier. That's C tier. I think it's a little better than that. It's hard. Because this army can. It's really weird. Like every attachment that's not packed on Zealots auto loses to Catans, but packed on Zealots will laugh at Catans. So if you want to continue playing your super shooty gun tier army, You take your Pac-Man Zealots Catans, you put Vasher, you take your Pac-Man Zealot Fortunes, you put Vasher in your army and Vindicators, and you kill every Catan in like 1 turn.
Yeah,
like,
all dead.
Yeah, which is fun. Yeah, especially like they used to do that back in the day when Fortunes couldn't get strength 12, but now they can. You can take Vasher, which is very good.
It does have some very interesting greedy shooty builds.
Yeah, no, it has always been the hardest shooting army in the game, and that's just always been true, which is always a fun niche to have. But it is very greedy. Tyranids, this army just doesn't do like anything. It has a lot of attachments that are all like, it's similar. It's like a bad version of Tau, T-Suns, and like Eldar, where it has like technically a lot of build variety and a lot of things you can use, but like none of those are like actually very good in the grand scheme of the game.
Its internal balance is very high. Its external balance is very, very built.
Yeah.
Not so good.
And speaking on the other end of that, orcs are bad in both ends. It has pretty bad internal balance.
I was gonna say there's like maybe a debate you put Tyranids in B-, but I think they're the right and perfect.
The army
top of C.
It's bad.
Everything else is certainly C. Right?
I think CSM was like a tier above Tyranids, and I'm still like, I don't really want them to be a- tier. But
that is fair.
Tyranids are just really bad. Orcs, same thing. Same thing. Like comparing even these two armies, like this army does literally nothing. This army is another one. It's terribly internally balanced. You have 1 detachment, which is war band, whatever the detachment's called, war horde. That's what it's called. And they like took every rule you need in that army and put it in that detachment. Like here's your +2 movement rules. They have 2 versions of that. You have +2 to move and like +2 to charge as like an enhancement. Here's your decent melee buffs. Here's your fight and death. Here's your durability, -1 to wound. They took all the rules that you need as this type of army and shoved it in 1 detachment. It's like, now you can't play. It's like this. It's right here. Where's that army? Right here. Same thing happened to this army.
Yeah, it very much did.
They just do it way better. Yeah, it's just like the profiles are terrible. Like baseline orcs without WA, baseline orcs with WA are bad at killing things. Baseline orcs without WA literally do nothing. Like remember, an orc day sheet is 3 attacks of 4/1/1. They are worse at fighting than a naked succubus, a naked witch, which has I would rather have 5 attacks at 3/1/1 than 3 attacks at 4/1/1. And that is before you count like the witches that come with 5 special weapons for about the same price.
Or drugs.
Yeah, the drugs. And like this, I'm not even talking about detachments. The detachments way better, but like being way faster, being way easier to use, stuff like that. And it's like this is like we call them shitty witches in the community for a reason, because they're the shitty witches, let alone like an orc model. Like, ugh, it's embarrassing. Yeah, orcs just suck. They can't do anything. I was like, they had a funny niche like Gaskell with like 5 knobs with 1 shot of Vectrix Guard squad, which is really cool because he was like the most efficient damage 4 in the game, which is fun, but being damage 4 isn't important anymore. Like I would say like maybe he's gonna Catans, but like you would need like 10 knobs to like let him, and 20 boys can kill Catans, but they're never gonna be able to get in combat with them because it's 23 models, especially if it's a deceiver. Oh no. What are you gonna fight with 5 boys there? Black Templars. This army is awful. It is the worst Space Marine army by an unbelievable
it lost its niche, right?
It doesn't do anything. Like, yeah, they have. I like their detachment, their army ability, the replacement of oaths, but when you don't have good day sheets to put it on, because remember, Space Marines have unplayably terrible melee, so you're relying on your army models, and Primaris Crusaders are just like side grade berserkers, better in some ways, worse in other ways. Not really a day sheet you really care about. And Worldly just have
I don't think this army needed nerfs at all. I think that's really like a critical part.
That was
like
why
Black Templars were a B tier army, or maybe A-, but probably B tier army.
Definitely B or lower. Yeah. This is why it was my least favorite day slave of the edition, because the most broken army was the least nerfed army of anything on nerfed. It was embarrassing and it was offensive. I hated it. But this army got literally unironically minimum 60 points, but really close to 100 because people were playing like 3 lower executioners and 3 of the characters, which added up to 100, which was insane.
It's one of the spammiest armies in the game. You were taking those data sheets.
Yes, because you literally, this was the least of the good day sheets of any of the armies. You had 1 good infantry unit, sword bros. You had 1 good tank in executioners, and you had a very small amount of characters. You had the Marshal Castellan, and then what's his face, Stabby Man, Emperor's Champion. That was really it.
Go to say that the 20-man units were also functional in teams, but I mean everything was hit. Like, actually everything was hit. So it's,
and this is like I said, that's like this army does that mostly better because they can at least move faster. They can move 10. These do hit harder substantially, but if you can't get in there, that doesn't matter. But yeah, they just don't do anything. It's like I said, now you're gonna play into Catans where your 3 damage, your 3 attack, 2 damage guy is gonna just like cry because he cannot kill a Catan. He doesn't even wound him on 5. I guess he wounds on 5s by definition if you've probably taken that vow, but he's strength 5, so he wounds on 6s, quote unquote. So you can't even like, if you don't roll 10,000 lethals with your 14 attack.
It's gonna be bad time.
If you somehow don't get really 32 wounds through with your 16 attack, you're not gonna do it. Oh my god, bro! They have 3 attacks. They have 3 attacks. It's so bad. Just to recall, this army doesn't do anything. This army is super nerfed. They need to rework for the 50th time because this is the worst written rules of 10th edition Index Gene Stealers. I don't know what insane person wrote that. Infinite rezzing while being the hardest shooting army in the game, but it killed the army. They got a really bad codex to make up for it, and they've been trying to fix it ever since.
Third time after
and then they killed it a 3rd time because it's still essentially toxic rules. Like, please, oh my god, Crosshair was a dumb mechanic in 9th edition, but at least it didn't break the game. Crossfire, that's what it's called. But yeah, like I said, they had one detachment. They had one like C tier attachment and like a bunch of F tier attachments. They deleted the attachment. They just took it out back. It has no rules anymore. And one like D tier attachment got very minor buffs to like pretend people to play it. And then you could be like my boy Tucker, who takes Brood Brothers to Worlds and gets best GSC, baby. Brood Brothers. That attachment's really bad too. It doesn't do anything. Yeah,
it's more testament to a player, not
like I said before, this army doesn't do anything. It doesn't have a single niche. It is not the best horde. It's not a good horde army. It's not a good shooting army. It's like an okay scoring army. It is like a mid-tier melee army when you play that one detachment. It has no durability. It has not a single niche. It doesn't do anything well like it used to be, like the best teleporty, the best scoring army, the best like horde army. Like they used to have a lot of niches, but they don't have any. Sad. 14 seals. This army doesn't exist. GW doesn't say it exists. This army
wasn't written rules with competitive in mind.
It's not even that. Like, you know, this army has had one change, and that change was a nerf, which was the Colossus losing its 3 in Steep Trick. It's only had one change that's been released. It's whatever. It's not a real army. Don't expect it to be a real army. But that's it. That's the tier list. I thought this was great. I think this is a great tier list. Best army game, by the way. We should make an S+ tier for Specialist Might.
Maybe a little bias there.
I don't know. This army auto beats like 5 Catans. People run it, which is very cool. Yeah, so if you're a baddie running 5 Catans, get wrecked. But if you're running like 2 Catans, I'm gonna be sad and cry and quit my army probably.
Yeah.
Go back to my custodies. But yeah, that's great. And then this tier list will be invalid in 2 weeks when CSM becomes OP. Just kidding, they won't. Elder Might and Drukhari, because we're both getting like 7 new day sheets.
It's true. Yeah, we'll have to see what those are. I'm excited.
It's actually like real because like in reality, we're getting the Corsairs of jump packs, and neither of these armies have a like cheaper jump pack infantry. You have an elite one. This army doesn't have one. So that is a real niche for both the armies. It's pretty cool. Yep.
Depending on what buffs it can pick up too, right? I know with elves currently, I think they can benefit from almost everything in the elf book.
They're just normal Eldar models. They get every rule.
Just normal. So
it's mine. Their allies. I wouldn't get any of the rules, but I'd be a day sheet boy. But that's fine. More day sheets. That's half my codex being because I have like 12 day sheets.
Big gains here.
I'm getting like 7 new ones.
Some big increases.
Woo! Exciting. All right, boys. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and you all have a great night.